I've gotten several questions from different subscribers about the relationship between infidelity and alcoholism. Is there one? Or is this just an excuse their cheater uses as to why they had an affair? Well, the two are correlated. Not in all cases, but in many cases. And it's not because one caused the other, it's because the two go together. And when you're drinking, you make worse choices. And you basically, if you are jacked up on dopamine and it's making you feel good, then trying to get with another person or feel appreciated or attraction from another person, you can see how that could raise your dopamine levels and commit itself to your brain's memory. So you would go back to that again and again. I want to make this video for people who are mostly trying to save their relationship or questioning if they should try to save their relationship after they find out a partner has experienced another person, an affair, or if they're concerned that their partner is an alcoholic and not getting help, and this may be happening as well. So why does it go together? Well, it goes together for several reasons. As I was talking about, alcohol raises your dopamine initially, it commits itself to feeling good. It's in your brain memory, and you want that feeling of feeling good. Affairs do the same thing, and I have a video about affairs and how their addictions, actually, when the person is going through them, they're controlled by the brain chemistry. And I think referring to that is going to help you understand all of these. Not only that, but these two addictions, and I am going to call them addictions, affairs and alcoholism, they have the same behavioral look from the outside. So many times, if you didn't know if your partner was cheating or if they were over drinking and alcoholic, you wouldn't know which one of these addictions they were struggling with. For example, behavior changes, mood swings, changes in appearance, neglecting responsibilities at home and work, appetite changes, changes in sleep patterns, unusual smells, perfumes, or alcohol. Being away from the house, more common, and especially at night. Unexplained purchases, paying less attention to their partner than anything else going on in their life. So those all could be a sign of an affair, but they also could be a sign of someone who is an alcoholic, because I've seen them both in my office. And if it's hard for me to discern which is which, I can see why it would be hard for you, especially if you're the person at home, you're working all the time, perhaps you have children. It would be very difficult to be able to tell exactly what is going on with your partner. So why do alcoholism and affairs go hand in hand? Why do they correlate highly? Well, alcohol lowers your inhibition. You're more likely to be assertive, to go after someone, to ask someone out. Alcohol impairs your judgment. You're no longer thinking rationally. You're not thinking about your partner at home, your spouse, your children, who your actions would hurt. It lessens your anxiety, takes it way down. All of a sudden, you're really comfortable. And that's a lot of times when people are cheating, they'll say, I felt so comfortable with them. Ask them how much they had drank before that. And what's important is you don't give them an excuse for cheating, but that you understand this is a correlated addiction. It's alcohol and cheating. Alcohol often brings emotions to the surface. So your partner who withdraws from you, is passive, isn't emotional, maybe even aloof. When they're drinking, they're not. They're very close, they're very connected, they easily attach, and that's because, once again, the alcohol is changing them. Alcohol changes a person. Affairs do too. In other words, when you're with an alcoholic, there's no doubt that that alcoholic is no longer your spouse. They are another person. They're a person under the influence of alcohol. It is the same thing with an affair. When I meet people who have had a constant affair or for years, when I see them with their partner, they're not really with their partner or spouse. They're now with that other person, their drug, their vice, if you will. So basically, you have to understand what is going on with both addictions. And rather than just focus on the cheating, find out about the drinking too, because number one, it makes it harder to ever trust, to repair the trust if they're an alcoholic. But number two, we have a fantastic 12-step program, and it can address the alcoholism and the cheating, which is so important. And you, the person who hasn't cheated, can oftentimes go to Al-Anon, which is very helpful about setting boundaries, firm boundaries that are going to protect you, perhaps your children, and anyone else you love living under your roof at home. So what are healthy ways, psychological ways, that you can cope with this if you are the partner who is married or committed to someone like this? Well, first of all, you have to deal with the betrayal. So I think, first of all, it would be important for you to go to therapy and to be able to tell a therapist what happened. Then they'll probably want to bring your partner in too. While that's going on, it's crucial for you to remember that someone who is addicted to a drug like alcohol needs to go to a program. They cannot do it on their own because, as I said, addictions do not go away. You can recover from them, you can manage them, but they don't go away, and they need interventions. So that's very important. Working through your emotions personally is going to take some time. So it's not only important that you go as a couple to a therapist, but it's important that you go on your own. Make sure that your partner is remorseful and wants to come back and is willing to do anything to keep you there, sharing passwords, getting off phones, getting off social media, basically blocking their past so they can start anew. But that doesn't mean they can block your past. You have to carry this memory with you, and they need to grace you with space so you can do what you need to do to restore yourself. You are going to have good days, you're going to have really bad days. Expect those. I do have a few other things that I think might help you. The first thing is, do not leap to conclusions when you're talking to your partner or therapist. Ask questions, but don't make accusations. Always, always hold your partner accountable. Don't get into blaming the other person. Don't get into blaming yourself. Your partner is responsible for what they created in this relationship with you. Follow through on boundaries and rules. And as I said already, seek therapy and invest in therapy because you're going to need it. Nothing else is as important. Whether the marriage dissolves or not, we'll see with therapy and everything else going on. But what's important is that you don't dissolve, that you do go on, that you flourish. And yes, you can flourish because I've seen it. I've seen it both ways. I've seen couples who really want the marriage and are willing to give everything, including 1 to 2 years of therapy to work through issues when they come up. And I've also seen couples that go, you know what, I can't do it, I'm done. And they end it. So whatever you decide is going to be the right thing for you. If this video is helpful for you, I would really like it if you would subscribe. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much.